That is something which, in my opinion, helped me as a player. I wouldn't recommend it, but that is something which truly was helpful for me.
You know, before I ask you more things about what to do when you're low in life, because let's not forget, he's talking about all of his injuries, and in 2001, he became only the second player from India. 2001, he became only the second player from India to win the All England Championships. So he's been through that and gotten to the very highest point of badminton. And I should say, while you need no introduction, I want to say more about Gopi. As a player and as a coach, you've reached the highest, point, right? Which is every athlete's dream. You want to touch that. And it's so elusive to win those marquee events, which is rare for Indian athletes. And then as a coach, you've produced Olympic medalists, which, even in my lifetime, we didn't really know if it was going to happen at one time, right? Of course, Saina Nehwal came up, PV Sindhu came up. Now there are more and more players. But I want to ask you, it's about a year to go to the Olympics. There's so much pressure on you as the national coach. Expectations have... Are you feeling stressed and nervous? And how do you deal with stress and anxiety? Because I think that's something every athlete goes through, and that's what all of us go through. Especially, I'm sure, entrepreneurs go through.
It's really strange how the mind works in some sense, because in around 98, 99, 2000, I was kind of top 10 in the world. I was hoping I would win a big tournament, and I wanted it to be the Olympics in 2000 Sydney. Strangely, at the Olympics, the flooring in Sydney was concrete, and they just put a thin synthetic mat on top of it to play because it was temporary infrastructure. That was the last time, because after that BWF made it a point that no tournament should be held on concrete again. But I was the unfortunate one where I had to play that. I played a horrendously long match and I won it on fitness against one of the fittest players on the circuit. And then I go back and my knee is swollen. I almost have a golf ball kind of a swelling on my left knee. And my whole body is swollen up, and then I have 102 temperature the next day morning, and after 3 Brufens, I barely could stand on court. I lost it, and for a few months after it, I really was shaken, and I just was desperate to win. I worked really hard to win, and then I lost it, and I was like, never again in my life I will go with an expectation to any tournament. And I continued training like that, and out of the blue, in some sense, the All England win happened. And I was like super happy about it. But I said, yeah, God doesn't give you what you want, He gives you what you deserve. All your prayers and meditations were for the Olympics, you thought, but for me, it ended up, all the visualizations happened at the All England. So in some sense, I was happy with that connect. And I lived my life in a very bland manner. When I went to Olympics in even London, I wasn't desperate to win. I just was sitting there and I was very calm, thinking that Saina will win the medal and I'm okay, it's okay, it's okay. Because as a player, you win once or lose once in a day. As a coach, you're sitting for 10 matches. And you're probably losing 7 or 8. So somewhere down the line, you start to kind of even out the emotion, saying, I'm going to be really old and stressed out if I go through that emotion in every match. So you're trying to tone it down and say, it's okay. You take a distance and watch the entire story from a little bit of a distance so that your emotion is not so much. And then it continued like that. And I go back to Rio, and then the night before, and literally I couldn't sleep a minute. And the same things which were prior to 2000 Olympics just came back. So sometimes when you think that you're overcome the mind and you figured it out, it somehow just comes back. So I think that is one of the things. So from a stress perspective, today I take it a lot more easily. I would just back off, look at it from a distance, especially when I'm on court. I do believe that what emotion you have adds to the player. So if you're calm and confident, it'll add to the player, whether you say it or show it or not. But if you're really agitated from inside, it will show to the player. So I make it a point to just keep my emotion very calm, and it normally works.
So that's a leadership lesson from Gopi. And emotions do, we do transfer our emotions to others, and no matter what you're going through as a leader, if you're in a leadership position and somebody's coming to you, looking at you, because athletes tend to look at their coach's corner, and just one eye look is sometimes enough to reassure them, or, just tell them it's okay, just do what you're doing. I want to ask you, both as a player and as a coach, is there any moment, either in your life or an athlete that you were training, that they were going through a real hardship and a lot of adversity and they showed great resilience? Is there any such moment that comes to your mind, and what does it take to have resilience to overcome serious adversity? What are those key aspects of a person?
I think I'll just share maybe 3 examples. One of it shows me faith, one shows me love for the sport, and one shows me that trust and determination to come back. I remember in 2005, before I started coaching, I took Saina, and both of us went to China to my former coach, Wang Xiaomin. Hangzhou is the place. And we went in around February during the Chinese New Year. So we finished our training session, we go out there, and there's food there. And Saina is a pure vegetarian. And I needed her to eat food because she needed to recover the next day. So there was food kept here, and I said, eat this. And the first thing he put in her mouth was actually duck's tongue.
Wow.
And that's the first meet. She just trusted me. She was like 14 years, 90 born, about 15 years old. And then she was like, eat it. And then, okay, bhaiya, tuck, tuck, tuck. And that's how it was. And another instance with Saina, I remember, which for me was very important, that attitude, is we were training for the Olympics, and we went to Beijing. And every day we were training in the gym at 6 in the morning. And we played, we were there for almost 10 days. And she lost this quarterfinal match in China, in Beijing. And she was leading actually 11-4. From there, she lost that match. And it was like quarterfinals. And next is semifinals medal match. But then on the way back at around 5:30 in the evening, I was like, Saina, tomorrow morning we have gym. And she was like, bhaiya. And I was expecting, and I was not even thinking that she would train the next day, because I just felt to get something out of her. She said, bhaiya, please. And I was expecting her to say, I want to have rest. And said, bhaiya, please, can we have it at 6:30 instead of 6? I think that kind of an attitude is what differentiates the people. So work ethic and culture is something which is more important, not the win or the lose, but really that. And then I remember Sindhu in 2013. We had the Asian Championships. She was playing Wan Shishan, and she won the first game. She was up 18-10 in the second game. And then Wan Shishan comes literally back, and there's like a 5,000 or 10,000 people in the stadium in China rooting for her. And then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then Sindhu's like literally tears in her eyes. She's like very young, very young. So she's like literally came back to the chair, and I don't want to play. And I'm like in the chair, I'm just sitting there, come on, it's going to be okay, okay. Somewhere down the line, these champions also have, they may not express it, but they have it. When the chips are down, when things are really bad, they have something in there which actually pulls them and gives that little bit extra. And at the right moment, when it's almost
Done and
done
dusted.
and dusted, they're able to pull it back. And that ability is there. So I would say love, I would say faith, I would say that ability to dig something deep inside and go for the kill.
Yeah.
I think these are things which differentiate. On the other side, I've also seen players who have failed. And I would say it's not brave enough to win. They're not sure of the change. They're not sure of even winning is a new thing.
And they're not really ready to take that step.
They're not ready to jump out and be there in that almost uncomfortable zone because there are 10 people here, there's only one person there. I think that jump to the unknown, even if it's success, is sometimes
Scary.
prohibiting you or stopping you.
Wow, that's actually interesting because we don't talk about that aspect, that we only talk about how we want to be successful and everybody assumes they want to be successful. But actually, there comes a time when you have to take a leap and you have to expose yourself a little bit more than before to be successful, isn't it? But I want to ask you, is talent more important or is that work ethic and discipline more important to succeed?
I think this is a tricky question to say because I've seen a lot of champions in my life, but I've seen a lot of failure as well. So for me to sit on the side and say that as a player, I have won so everybody can win, I think is wrong. Thanks to God, I have been fortunate to have the genes which I have, the parents who've supported me, and instances in my life which have been such that I've been able to win.
Can you name one of those instances?
It's a lot of instances, but I'll name a couple of them. I wrote 45 was the pass mark. I was randomly ticking stuff. And I got 38. If 7 of those ticks were right, I would have got a sports quota and ended up as an engineer, which would have been a disaster for the engineering side. So for me, that was one. That year, I got a chance because back in the day, we were also struggling. I wasn't winning any when I was 18. And my parents said, if you don't win this year, you will have to do engineering. And mind you, my brother went to IIT, so standards at home were high. So they said that. And luckily that year, I actually played for the country, won the junior nationals. More importantly, got a job in Tata Steel. And that was very, very important. So if not for the job, if not for the win at the junior nationals, I probably wouldn't have continued playing the sport also. So I look at that from a playing perspective. From a coach's perspective and this thing, and for me, back in the day, my struggles were very basic. You go to the stadium, watchman nahi aaya. You go in, current nahi hai, shuttles nahi hai, court nahi hai, coach nahi hai. These were the kind of struggles I had. You go to the ground, shaadi hua hai. So this is how my life was as a player in the 90s. So when I became a player, I thought it's very important that infrastructure should be in our control. It cannot close for Diwali and Ramzan and Christmas because you're never going to be a player if you actually take Saturday, Sundays off and all of these things. So infrastructure should be in our control. And then government allotted a piece of land in Gachibowli, Hyderabad. And then we built. And when I go to actually call the CM for inauguration, the minister says that we have decided to take the land back because the previous government gave it and this government taking it back wants to build service apartments there. And I went to court and fought that court case for 6 years. And during this time, we had Commonwealth, Asian Games, World, Olympic medals. And I had to fight this case from 2008 to 2014. So I think somewhere down the line, these kind of adversities, you have to take it in your stride. shocks and humiliations are part of the story. Whenever you fall down, I've at least said I would count with gratitude the things I have, rather than the things which I have lost. I think that is what has kept me so long. And my friend Sanjay would say this in the sense, to stay in the most uncomfortable positions for the longest periods of time is what decides what success is. And to actually do the things which you don't like, but actually don't want to do it, but you have to do it, and you go with the things which you have to do rather than the things which you like to do or used to do, I think is very, very critical.
Very interesting that, but I'm not leaving you. I still want an answer to talent versus work ethic.
So I'm saying this, that a lot of the times people with a lot of hard work have not made it. Okay. So for me to say that talent is not needed and hard work is everything is not right. Talent is also a very important thing. But having said that, talent is a lot more available. And when talent and hard work come together, that's when you get world-class results.
That's when the magic happens. Yes. So tell me a little bit about, building world-class infrastructure that you talked about that you've faced. I mean, your academy, the center that you built in Hyderabad, against so many odds, was almost first of a kind, where there was a vision to create something like that. And it has made a wholesale change in Indian, which is reaping results for us till today. Do you believe, by and large, that if the atmosphere is right, if the backing is right, if the coaching is right, then Indians can produce world-class champions like you have? And similarly, I'm just taking that as an example for business and entrepreneurship, because you must have seen people being innovative, right, to succeed. So do you feel like in India, all we need is the right atmosphere and facility, and the rest will take care of itself?
I think the way I've seen badminton is that if we have, from a strength conditioning, this is how I put those things in my head when I was playing. If I am 70% as strong as the Chinese are, as the Indonesians are, or the Danes are, and if I have 70% of their speed, I have 30% more brain power than them to beat them. This is how I kind of thought it over. And this is what, for me, I have seen and I continue to see. Yeah. Because we are really good here. And that is something which is our biggest strength. Where we struggle is to get our system in place. Yeah. When we have more people working, I think that's where the challenges are. And this is where, even in the sporting ecosystem, today, we have this challenge which is much more than what we had earlier, that there's so much of interest, so much of growth, but the system is not yet there. So you have corporates today, thankfully for me at the academy, we have sponsors, we have people who have come out and supported me. It is fantastic. Likewise, many corporates have taken a very keen interest in sport. The government of India has been phenomenal for sport. The last 10 years have been like unbelievable. I don't think any, very, very active, very proactive in supporting and promoting. The PM has been fantastic. All that is great. But then on the ground level, the NGOs working, the academies, the people's parents wanting their kids to be, kids aspiring to be, I think everything is. But is there a system and a defined demarcation of who is in charge of what or who does what? We don't have it. So I think that is where we really lack. For any results to come, you need players, coaches, support staff going up, infrastructure going up, and also policy going up. All 4 pillars which should go up together. I think somewhere we're very good at infrastructure already, fantastic. Players also have done well. But coaches and support staff, we still don't have the same input and push. We're looking for easier options by getting foreign people and managing that, which is a stopgap or a band-aid kind of everything. And also policy is still not existing in that place. So there's a lot of confusion in that. In that confusion, great talent gets lost.
But if I was to ask you, as an athlete yourself, you had a vision of what you wanted to do. There was, as you said, at that time, there was basically nothing, right, to produce an academy like this. What do you think the system can do for, athletes like yourself who have so much to give back, to do something of their own and start something of their own, be an entrepreneur in their second innings? What is it that they need?
I think players have an issue.
Which is?
You're 25 and 30 and you're world champions.
Yeah.
And being an entrepreneur literally means that you have to start from zero again. Or to learn anything, you have to start from zero again. So I think good education from the beginning is very, very important. Mentorship is very important. Yeah. And you need to know what your skill sets are and somebody to help you actually take your hand along the way and then take you all the way, I think would be important. So mentorship into a new field, clarity of thought to start off at zero again. I think these are things which are very, very important and they're not easy.
They're not easy. Certainly. I have a final question for you and this is particularly, I think, of interest to our audiences here. What are those mantras of success from the world of sports that you think apply to the world of business or entrepreneurship?
I think 2-3 things which I do in sport and tell my players, I will share them. Yeah, and please. I hope some of it could be useful. One of the things which we do, and I think a lot of young organizations already do it, but I still say it, is challenge the senior, respect the junior. That's what we tell our players. Because for growth to happen, I'll give you an example which happened a few years ago. I have this young boy called Rajawat, right? Priyanshu, who's doing well now. So he and Kashyap had played a match. And they came back to me, and then Kashyap comes up. He won about 21-16, 21-18. And then he comes up, and I'm telling him, what the hell are you doing? He's a 16-year-old kid, and you're so close to him, and you kind of should be beating him really low, under 12. And this is no score, because it's just not good enough. If this happens in a match, he's going to 100% beat you. So you better, next time he's there, you better thrash him. This is what I told. He moves out of the picture, and then Priyanshu comes in, and I'm telling him, boss, kya kar raha hai tu? ये 30 साल का बुड्ढा हो रहा है, इसको अब नहीं मारेगा तो कब मारेगा तू? And I'm hoping they don't exchange notes. Yeah.
So challenge the senior and respect the junior.
Sometimes in organizations, I feel your boss says something, and even if it's wrong, and you are the smart young kid who is innovative, you don't challenge them because the decision is cast. And the boss doesn't take the junior's input because he doesn't respect the junior enough. So maybe what we use in the sporting field can be useful here, where you challenge the senior and you respect the junior. This is something which I thought could be of help. The second thing which I think is important, and on one side of the story is grit, hard work, determination, and all of it. But also another aspect which is very important, and for winners as well, is the ability to let go. When you know, and I see it in my life as well, I could have retired as a player maybe 3-4 years later than when I have. But when I was in 2004, I saw that my future is not better than my past. I let go of my playing career with an enthusiasm to jump onto my career as a coach. And that really helped. So it's almost like you're hanging off the cliff. You know you have to fall. Might as well jump off it when you have the energy and land in a place where you can take off to the next cliff, rather than actually fall off into depression and then in shock you're taking the wrong decisions. So as much as grit and determination are very important, it's also very important that you're able to let go. I think that is something we sometimes forget, and we need to know what it is. The third thing which I tell my players always is that on the court, when you're there, you have to believe that you have a lot more to achieve. You have to look at the glass as being half full. Even if you're the best company in the world, you still have to be wanting to be even better. You want really driven people at work. But the moment you get back home or you are outside the badminton court, once you've lost the match, you have to celebrate what you have. And you have to count the blessings of what you have, rather than...
And look at the glass as half full at that time.
Yes, you have to look at the glass. You want hungry people at work. You want happy people and satisfied people outside of work, at home. So you want friends and family to be happy. You want working people to be driven. So on court, you want to be driven, but off court, when you're there, you want to actually enjoy what you have. Feel gratitude for what is left rather than what you've lost. One example on this I'll give you. When we played the semifinals in Rio, I remember after the match, Sindhu had come and I just shook my hands, although I was bursting with happiness inside. I just kept a very plain face and I said, congrats, well done. Quickly finish off the press conference, get your food in, and we have a job to do. I really want you to prepare quickly for tomorrow's match. This is what I had told her after the semi-final. This was very bland kind of expression on my face. She loses the final and she is depressed, a little down. And there's one photograph where I'm actually holding her and telling her this. The words which I said was, you've had a great week. You had a great year of preparation for this. Don't think of it as though you've lost the gold. Think that you won the silver. And when you're on the podium, I want you to have celebration for winning the silver, not thinking of it as though you've lost the gold.
She smiled on the podium and she raised her hands.
I think that perspective is important. Sometimes in that moment, when we have probably lost a big deal, we are thinking about what we have lost. But to be bidding for it, or to be able to be present at that presentation as an entrepreneur, that's probably a stature which you actually have. And I think that being there is important. So when I'm looking at my young players, they're playing 20, 25 tournaments a year. They're traveling literally half of the time. The rest of the half time, they're actually only training.
Yes.
And they have a career of, say, if they're 20 years old, they probably have a career of another 14, 15 years. They're going to play 20 tournaments, almost 300 tournaments in a year. They're going to lose 250 of them. If they don't enjoy the process, and maybe their best years are 32, 33, 34, they will never last till they go there. So for all the entrepreneurs, maybe your best years are 60 and 65. We are sport, we are 30 and 35, we are done. But maybe as an entrepreneur, your best years are 60 and 65. And you have to keep going.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't enjoy the process and don't celebrate the process, and if you're only going by the results, you'll never reach that stage of full potential because your best years are much later. And maybe your stars are aligned in such a way that your best years are later. But if you don't reach it with enthusiasm, then you're not going to. So the journey needs to be happy. The whole process needs to be fun. And only then you'll get there. This is how I would tell my players.
Wonderful. That's absolutely amazing. A big round of applause for Gopi. But we have one more question for you before I let you go. There is another big fan of yours amongst all of us waiting for a question. So let's roll that, please.
Hey Gopi, big fan of yours. Just curious, what's the one sport that you love to play other than badminton?
Although my knees don't support it, I would love to play football.
But you played cricket when you were young, isn't it?
Yeah, cricket was, I think we all played cricket. I got into badminton because I didn't get admission in cricket.
So there you have it. You know, things work the way they work, and sometimes you have to trust the process and just enjoy the process. Gopi, thanks a lot for being here. Once
Thank
again,
you
a
very
big
much.
round.